Hello children, this is Aniruddha, Mounted School Jhansi. Today we are starting the topic Hemophilia, that means Mendelian disorders. And in the previous session we had talked about other things also, such as genetic disorders, pedigree analysis and mutation in 12th class NCERT biology book. Today we are starting with hemophilia, which is a kind of sex-linked recessive disease, a kind of Mendelian disorder, in which what happens, infected individual, if there is a minor cut, leads to non-stop bleeding. If there is a minor cut on the body of the person who is suffering from hemophilia, there will be a non-stop bleeding. This disease is caused by a heterozygous female, okay, who can be a carrier of this particular disease, and the possibility of female to become hemophilic is extremely rare. Why? Because female contains two X chromosomes, and if both the X chromosomes are hemophilic, that means linked with hemophilic gene, only then female becomes hemophilic. But what happens in the case of male, a male contains only one X chromosome, and as I told you, it is X linked or sex linked disease, recessive. So what actually happens, if even only one X contains a hemophilic linked gene, the male becomes hemophilic. So just because of this, only having one X, male becomes hemophilic faster than the female. Female, both the X chromosome should contain hemophilic gene, linked gene only, and at this condition the female will become hemophilic. So mostly females are carrier of this particular disease. The female has to be at least carrier, or she should be hemophilic, and the father should be hemophilic. Only in that condition the next generation will be hemophilic. Mostly this particular disease is caused in mostly in sun, and it is transmitted by the female, because most of the time female is the carrier. Okay, and I am telling you how it actually happens. Suppose this is a female who is carrying the disease, and I must change the color of this. So this is a female who is having hemophilic carrier gene with her one X chromosome, and there is a male, X and Y, and the male does not have any hemophilic problem. Make the Punnett square. This is female who is producing one defected X chromosome and one proper normal X chromosome, and the male is producing two kinds of sperm, one is X and one is Y. One X hemophilic meets with one X of male and produces a carrier female, and another X also hemophilic and one Y, and this particular boy or son becomes deceased. The next is X and X, they are normal, and next is X or Y, they are also normal. So in this particular case, if you see, this is a female who is carrier, but she is not hemophilic. This is a son who is hemophilic, and the disease came from the mother, and two children are normal completely. Now what happens in the case of one more case I take. This is a female who is carrier, and this is a male who is deceased. And now if they both are married together, then female will produce two types of ova. One is deceased, affected, one is non-affected. And the male will also produce two kinds of sperm. One is affected X and another one normal Y. Affected X of female, affected X of male, when they both combine, it becomes a female which is hemophilic. And one male who is again hemophilic, because male, if male can become hemophilic even when only one X of his chromosome contains hemophilic gene. And then next there will be another child, a female, who will be carrier of the hemophilic gene, and there will be the last child, a son, who will be normal without any carrier, without any hemophilic problem. So this is the structure, and I told you by making the Punnett square also how this hemophilic disorder travels from one generation to another, inherited from one generation to another. The next Mendelian disorder is sickle cell anemia. What happens actually in sickle cell anemia? It's not a sex linked disease, it's an autosome linked recessive trait, in which what happens, the hemoglobin chain somewhere is distorted. Just because of distortion, the RBC changes its shape, and RBC, which is a biconvex disc, becomes elongated sickle like structure. This defect is caused by the substitution of one particular amino acid in the chain of hemoglobin. One particular amino acid, you know that the protein, hemoglobin is a kind of protein, and protein is made up of chain of amino acid. So in the chain of amino acid, glutamic acid is replaced by valine at the sixth position of beta globin chain of hemoglobin molecule. And this substitution of amino acid results due to the single base substitution. Remember, a single base substitution. You know that the 3 codons, 3 code, you know that 3 nitrogenous base code for one particular amino acid, and another 3 nitrogenous base code for another amino acid. Okay, so GAG can code suppose for A, then GUG will not code for A, it will code for Z. So in a normal chain of one chain of DNA or one sequence of DNA, one sequence of RNA, if there is a change of one base pair only, A has been changed or replaced by U only, and the entire amino acid changes. So entire globin chain also changes, and the entire hemoglobin molecule changes. So this is sickle cell anemia. This is a kind of autosome linked recessive trait in which glutamic acid is replaced by valine. Why? Because glutamic acid is made by GAG, and GAG is replaced by U, and it becomes GUG, and GUG makes valine. It does not represent glutamic acid, and that is why in place of glutamic acid valine comes, and the chain, the hemoglobin protein changes, and just because of that the RBC, which is mostly oval, changes its shape and becomes sickle like structure. This is sickle cell anemia. The person may face difficulty in breathing and may face difficulty in later part of his life. The next which we are going to read is phenylketo urea. It's a kind of inborn error of metabolism. Metabolism inherited as autosomal recessive trait. This is also a kind of autosomal recessive trait. The affected individual lacks an enzyme. That enzyme which converts phenylalanine, which is a kind of amino acid, into tyrosine. And when the person lacks enzyme which converts phenylalanine into tyrosine, so what happens, phenylalanine becomes higher in amount in the body, and it is converted into phenylpyruvic acid, because phenylalanine had to be converted into tyrosine, but because of the lack of enzyme, the phenylalanine was not converted into tyrosine. So the amount of phenylalanine increases in the body, and just because of accumulation, it is converted into phenylpyruvic acid and ultimately other derivatives also of phenylalanine, and that results in the mental retardation in that particular child. So this is phenylketo urea. Now the next department will be chromosomal disorders. These all were three: hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, and phenylketo urea. They all were the Mendelian disorders. Hemophilia was sex-linked recessive. Sickle cell anemia is a kind of autosome-linked recessive, and phenylketonuria is autosomal recessive trait again. Now the next topic which we are going to read is chromosomal disorders. Okay, so this we will be reading in the next session. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.